Is being a PA worth it? So you became a PA to make six figures, but what if I told you that that decision actually cost you almost $1 million in lost future wealth? I'm Kristin Burton and I am a PA with about a decade of experience doing everything from critical care medicine to cardiology. I once was exactly like almost all PA grads, excited to get out and build this new career that I had selected, a little bit oblivious to what in the world student loan debt was going to do to me, but more importantly, very excited about that six-figure income that I had been waiting so long to receive. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the actual shocking math surrounding what it looks like to be a PA financially and if it actually puts you at an advantage above the national average. Now, the average PA becomes a PA in their late 20s, some even early 30s. If we look at data from Forbes, we find that the national average income for someone in that age bracket is $58,500. So we immediately turn to data surrounding PA salary for especially someone that's relatively new to the profession, right? 0 to 3 years, it's going to be in that age bracket, and we find that the income is actually above $130,000 according to Merit Health. So you might look at $131,500 for the new PA, $58,500 for the national average and go, things are shaping up, right? We're coming out ahead. As a matter of fact, we are up $73,000 per year, right? That's not chump change. Well, let's factor in what the student loan debt does to you as a PA, because it is an absolute fact that all medical professionals, PAs included, exist on the far right-hand side of the national bell curve for student loan debt. As of now, the average PA has over $110,000 of student loan debt just from graduate school. And then if we tack another $30,000 on for undergrad, we have this, $130,000+ student loan burden to contend with. So what does that do to our annual earnings? Well, if you actually look at what it costs you to pay back that student loan debt over a year, you can figure it out. Let's assume you have a weighted average interest rate of about 6% and you're going to pay it off over the standard 10-year term. Your monthly payment in this case would be just over $1,500 a month. But of course, you can't just earn $1,500 a month and pay it to your student loans. You have to pay taxes. And so when you look at it on an after-tax basis, you actually need to earn an extra $24,000+ per year just to handle the student loan debt. So we started out going, we're $73,000 ahead of national numbers. Great. Okay, well, once we factor in student loan debt, we're actually only ahead about $48,000 in year one. That's still not that bad, but it's also not the whole story. What happened for the 7 years that you were in training as a PA, right? Almost all of us were in training for at least 6, right? 4 years of undergrad. Now programs have truncated some down to 24 to 27 months. Mine was 36 months. Many people take a gap year in there to get their medical professional hours. All sorts of different setups abound, right? We all come to be a PA differently. Just say on average, you spent 7 years in training, not going out and earning that big, beautiful income at the end. Well, of course, that's missed earnings, but it's not like you could have earned $100,000 as a 22-year-old, right? So the missed earnings are less than what you would be making now as a PA, but that doesn't make them irrelevant. Let's just go back to that Forbes data for national average earning by age. We can see that when we were sub 20, our income that we missed was in the 30,000s. When we get above 20, we're now missing about $41,000 per year on average. That means we had about $271,000 in missed earnings while we're in training. Okay, well, you got by, does it really matter? Here's why it does. If you had maintained an investing rate of just 10% for those years that you would have been earning, not as much, but still earning, if you were not in training, by the time you finished the training window, you would have had just under $37,000 invested, assuming annual returns of 8%. Now, the $37,000 is money, but it's not life-changing money. Does it really matter? Here's the thing. You would have that invested at 25. If we looked at 18 to 25 as that 7-year training window, having $38,000 invested at 25 is a big deal. It's way different than having $38,000 invested at 35. Why? If you did nothing else, you just sat and you let it remain invested. You did nothing. You didn't contribute. You didn't do anything. From the years 25 to 65, that would have turned into $800,000. So now we start to see the reality of what it looks like financially because you became a PA. You will earn almost $50,000 more in those initial few years than national averages, even after accounting for student loan debt. But you've missed about $800,000 in wealth building potential in the training window. That is why you cannot afford to be laissez-faire when it comes to your new professional life, especially when it comes to your finances. If you are not negotiating for maximal income at every opportunity, investing in a meaningful way immediately, not 5% into your 401k, creating a student loan strategy that hopefully saves you in total cost of repayment and doesn't have you paying that $1,500 a month in the interim. If you can do all of those things, you can make these numbers look a lot better. Now let's take one other profession for example so that you can see it can, and in fact, it does get worse. Let's look at a clinical pharmacy specialist. Why is it worse for this profession over PAs? Well, when we look at data, their income is actually slightly higher at $136,000 per year. But here's the catch. To be a clinical pharmacy specialist, you likely did 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of pharmacy school, and at least a PGY1, but often a PGY2, so 2 years of residency to achieve that title. Now, of course, you get paid during those years, but anyone who's done it knows it's not much, right? Maybe $45,000 to $50,000 a year. And so what you have done is taken what would have been 10 years of earnings and converted it into $90,000 on those last 2 years. So if we go back to those national medians, you've actually missed about $445,000 in income and instead earned about $90,000 over that same time period. So just in earned income alone, you're out almost $500,000. Same principle applies. If you would have just invested 10% over those years, you can see the opportunity cost here well exceeds $1 million. So what is my point? Should you not go to college, not go to graduate school, not get into medicine at all because the financial metrics look a little wonky on the back end? No. There are other reasons to be in medicine aside from money, right? That is a fact. Most people in medicine are in medicine for a different reason. However, we do want to financially succeed once we're in it, which means a genuine recognition of what does it take for me to move from my starting position, which is behind the 8 ball, to financially successful. It's going to take a student loan strategy, it's going to take a genuine investing system, and it's going to take negotiation. If you skip even one of those 3 things, you're not allowing yourself to create the financial situation that actually can lead to you being ahead with this extra $48,000 in income that you have over national medians. Everyone asks me, is being a PA worth it? Now, when they're asking me in particular, they're asking through the money lens. And to be frank, it's the wrong question. The question is not, is being a PA worth it? It is, how do I make being a PA financially worth it? If you want help with this, make sure you have checked out my free guide on how to tell with my 6-step system if you are underpaid as a medical professional. This is your very first step in figuring out how do I progress on my money journey to make sure that I'm checking the boxes with negotiation, with an investing system, and with student loan strategy.